Hello, and without further ado, let me bring you into the second episode of Tony the Movie Guy.
Tony.
All right, hello everyone. This is Tony the Movie Guy, and with me is Miss Money Yenny.
Hello, everybody.
And also popping in just to make sure that I'm basically keeping in line is our producer and also my wife, Daniela. Say hi, Danny.
Hi, everybody.
Woo! Okay, good. So, well, first of all, I'm really happy to be doing the second episode of the official Tony the Movie Guy podcast. That's an achievement. And first of all, I really wanted to say I've been quite overwhelmed with all of the support and positive feedback that we've gotten from everyone, friends, family, strangers, people who've been listening. It's really awesome, and I appreciate it so much. I wanted to give a special shout out to Sam Deja, who did our incredible logo. You'll see that on the podcast. It's also on Instagram and on the Tony the Movie Guy Facebook page. And also, anyway, he's amazing, so thank you so much. And then also to Damien Perkins Neptune, who did our rockin' theme song, which was really awesome.
So awesome.
Again, all of this came together in a matter of days. So I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And, thank you so much. So what we're going to do here is we're going to attempt to entertain everybody, and we're going to attempt to do something that, again, is, a bit different than a lot of the other podcasts, because there's so many other podcasts out there about film, about, entertainment, movies, and so on. And I'm not going to stick to an exact format, but what I want to do is I want to cover, each episode will probably cover like a specific topic, and we'll discuss, we'll debate it. I may bring on guests and things like that. And obviously we'll take your questions as they come. But we mentioned it in the first episode. Yenny said that, one of the reasons that I was her friend was because I watched rom-coms with her. And, I'm going to make a stand for that. Men like a good rom-com too. They really do. And so I thought today we would actually discuss rom-coms. Good ones, bad ones, god-awful ones. And obviously I'm totally outnumbered, so that's going to be...
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. But no, seriously, there are... I actually like a lot of romantic comedies. And I think also you've got a little bit of a category. There are so many romantic comedies that get churned out that are just utter shit. I'm sorry, ladies. But, I mean, there are some that are just, they're terrible.
I would say a solid majority of them.
Again, this is, my perspective, and I realize that that's coming from me.
A perspective with quite some exaggeration.
And I understand completely. But I'm just saying, I don't run to the theater or, go to watch a rom-com all the time. But there are rom-coms that really work, I think, and that are, really funny, are very romantic in a traditional sense, and that I think men can really enjoy. The women are looking at me like they want to literally cut my head off. So
no,
look,
I'm just listening intently.
I'm going to lose my entire female audience in the second episode.
No, I think you're fine.
No, look, I love quite a lot of romantic comedies, but I'm just saying there are so many that get released that really I just don't think are good at all.
I agree with you, like 100%.
I'm sorry?
I said I agree with you 100%.
Okay, good. Okay, well, that's good to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep dive, and I'm totally outnumbered here, but we're going to take a deep dive into romantic comedies. And, first of all, I mean, what kind of establishes a movie being a romantic comedy? A good example would be a film like Jerry Maguire, which kind of doesn't really have an exact class. It's actually a sports movie.
True.
It's quite dramatic, but it's very much a romantic comedy. If you think about it, it's got some of the most romantic and quotable lines in it. You complete me, you had me at hello, and then, of course, show me the money, but that's not romantic at all. But you know what I mean? So to you, ladies, what defines a good romantic comedy?
Do you want to take this first, Jan?
Sure. I actually was thinking about this as I was reviewing all my favorite romantic comedies, because it's definitely one of my top things. I love a good romantic comedy.
Of course you do.
It's the best thing in the world. It's like, what do you want to watch when you want to like just feel like some kind of joy? It's
My
like,
wife is like, babe, can we watch a romantic comedy? The other week, can we watch Crazy Stupid Love? Okay.
Especially when I've had like a bad day or a long week, I'm just like, you know what? I just want a rom-com and a glass of wine. That's all I need.
Exactly. No, that is it. A rom-com and a glass of wine. It is the thing. Okay. For me, it has two things, because it has to be, romantic and funny, and it basically has to leave me sort of with this giddy, happy feeling at the end of how romance exists out there and life is all happy, and it has to have a happy ending for me. A good rom-com has to actually make me laugh, not just be silly and romantic, but it really needs to leave me with that upbeat, happy feeling at the end. That's kind of the main thing for me, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And what about you, babe?
See, I have a bit of a different viewpoint. Because I don't think it needs to leave you with a happy feeling. Like, I'm totally fine with a rom-com that doesn't end up right.
She's really into this.
Like, I really like rom-coms, and I like just the comedy aspect of it, and there has to be obviously like two central characters have to be in some sort of a romantic thing. But, if they don't end up together, or if they don't show them like going
Does
off
that really
into the
piss you
sunset,
off?
no.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, I'm totally fine, because I think it makes it even a little more entertaining if it's a little more based in reality. 'Cause it's like, yeah, you don't meet a guy and then, 5 weeks later it's like, oh, we love each other and happily ever after.
So you like it being realistic?
A little bit more. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, this is perfect. Everyone ended up together and it's great. But like the newer ones that are coming out are a little more twisted than that.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay, good. Yeah, I agree. So to me, a romantic comedy is, a comedy. So it's funny. I think it needs to produce laughs and be funny and entertaining. And then romantic. I know, again, I'm giving a really obvious answer, but it has to have that aspect of, a man and a woman finding each other, falling in love, and has to have those romantic themes and elements that kind of help sweep you off your feet and make you feel kind of, ooh. And I know this is a guy saying this. I'm like losing every inch of my masculinity right now.
Tony, you realize this is going to
be
on the interweb forever.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing. Remember, and I mentioned this to you last week, because I've been getting so much positive feedback from listeners and stuff. And one of the listeners, God bless him, he'll remain unnamed. I was talking.
I need to know who it is.
No, it's okay. He'll remain unnamed. But no, I was mentioning that I'll probably do an episode on podcasts. On Rom-Coms.
Yeah.
With Miss Money Annie, and it was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then on the next episode, you can do like action movies, and you can bring in a guy. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess you could think like, well, what's wrong with Yenny discussing action movies? So a lot of women like action movies, right?
Totally.
I was like, what about me? Don't I qualify as a guy? It's me and Yenny reviewing action movies. Why do I need to bring in another guy?
It's questionable. It's questionable.
It's that thing.
Yeah. Anyway, but today we're doing romantic comedies, and I enjoy it a lot. So
wait, hold on. Before we go into our list,
yes.
I want to know, because a lot of mine I think are teetering on the edge of being a rom-com or not. Like, if it's a musical and it has elements of romance and comedy, does that count? Or if it's dramatic and has elements of romance and comedy, does that count?
Well, here's the great thing about this.
Really on the edge here.
No, I'm going to answer that question for you. Here's the great thing about this. Number one, Danny is adorable because she looks so focused and into it right now. It's cracking me up.
I'm editing sound while I'm recording, so I'm sorry. I still am the producer. You're
doing a great job. But here's the thing. Number one, it doesn't matter because it's our show. Yeah. So it can be whatever it is. But
this is never going to reach the internet. This is just for us.
No, that's okay. But number two is, I'll tell you what I think. I don't have musicals on my list, personally. Okay. I don't. Grease is very romantic. I don't have Grease on my list of romantic comedies.
See, that seems like too much of an ensemble.
Well, also it's not, romantic, and it's not really a comedy. It's just a musical, but it's okay.
It's not just their relationship. It's much more, like Rizzo and Creator Face and,
Sure.
you know, all the other people.
Yeah.
But we're probably 10 minutes in and we haven't discussed rom-coms yet, so we should probably start with that. But you tell me your list and I'll tell you what I think, and Yenny will
Well, how about
tell you what
start
she
with the
thinks.
first in your list, we'll tell you if it's on ours, then we can discuss.
Yeah, so well, that's what I want to do. I'm going to kind of just go through them and let's talk about them. And certain ones will be like, yeah, okay. And then other ones we'll probably do a deep dive on, you know.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. I have Love Actually, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I absolutely consider that to be a romantic comedy. I really do. I mean, it's called Love Actually, and if you think about it, it's got multiple romantic themes, like as the main storyline. Hugh Grant, Colin Firth, the Hobbit guy, what's his name? Martin Freeman. Mm-hmm. It's got several stories that are literally just romances.
It's a rom-com mashup.
Yeah. So to me, that is absolutely a romantic comedy. And also, I think it really fits the definition you said, Yenny, because it's just a movie that makes you feel good. It's so
happy at the end.
entertaining, and it's such a feel-good movie. So you ladies really look like you're contemplating this. Do you not consider Love Actually to be a romantic comedy?
No, it's at the top of my list.
Okay, good.
What I'm contemplating is the funny fact that you don't realize. I mean, I've made you watch this at Christmas for 7 years in a row, and it is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
It is my top romantic comedy of all time. And noting based on what Danny said on her definition of rom-coms is, you know, that aspect of realism in it too. The beauty of Love Actually is there is, out of all those stories, also one that is quite sad.
Yeah, there's a
with
broken,
Laura
you know.
Linney, and her brother.
There's not just that one, but also the one with
Alan Rickman, and Emma Thompson.
Like,
Heartbreaking.
but it's still like
That's
it has.
what,
That's
know?
the perfect one because it has a bunch of wonderful people that end up together in the end, and then also, you know, some sadness to it that gives it. But then in the end, you walk out like that was just such a happy, fun. Genius laughs, and it's also obviously British, so it's incredible.
Oh, I
it's
think
my
you guys
favorite.
are a little biased. But
Sure, but no,
Maybe
look,
just a little.
I think we're all in agreement on that, and I'm actually surprised that that film, it's a very popular film, but I'm surprised it didn't get more acclaim.
It
I mean,
didn't.
Emma Thompson, to me, her small performance is, you know,
Incredible.
Oscar-worthy.
Incredible.
And you're right, it has so many themes. It has the uplifting stories, it has the ridiculously funny stories.
In love with best
you know,
friends.
Colin with his bag of condoms
Yeah.
going off to America, you know, meeting all the hot babes instantly in the bar, which coincidentally does work. I tried that a few times.
Not
a
anymore,
long
buddy.
time ago,
Not
babe.
anymore, buddy.
10 years ago. But anyway, I'm just saying.
As she glares at him across the table.
But you're right, like the story with Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson, those characters, I mean, they don't get back together.
Yeah.
You know?
but
they are together, but you can tell their relationship is like strained or
hurt,
broken,
yeah.
it's hurt.
It's hurt.
Yeah, because she has the internal struggle of like putting on a face
Yeah.
for the family, so they don't do well. Laura Linney doesn't do well in the end, but at the same time, perfect things can happen, and you can run after a 12-year-old at an airport if you're also a 12-year-old.
Right, like that
my
scene is
favorite
beautiful.
scenes in the whole
Yeah,
film.
absolutely beautiful.
Or run off to find the love that you fell in love with in Italy. And
Yeah.
one of my favorites on the sadder side in that film is actually, you know, the classic falling in love with your best friend's girl.
Oh yeah, Andrew Lincoln.
That it's heartbreaking at the beginning, and when that song comes on, and you know, Andrew Lincoln, who I now adore from The Walking Dead,
Right.
but that whole sequence is, you know, that often happens in life.
That's
Yeah,
such
how
a
real
funny
is that?
career,
Unrequited
isn't it?
love.
He
Yeah,
has
you
that
love somebody, they don't
scene.
get it back.
He's
Yeah.
that character from Love Actually, and then he's Rick Grimes on The Walking
most,
Dead.
like,
the most like
disturbed
intense,
character.
disturbing TV show ever.
Yeah.
So look, we're
That's
all
what
in
happens
agreement.
with unrequited love. You turn into a zombie killer.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well,
That's
yeah,
what
there you
happened.
go.
That's what happened.
So look, we're all in agreement on Love Actually.
Adore it.
It's such a fun, happy, entertaining movie, and it is very funny, legitimately
funny.
funny.
It's so funny.
And it's very moving, and it's got great, romance in it.
Who's the
with
guy
a
who
number of
does
the
the song?
storylines.
Oh, the song.
Oh, Bill Nighy.
Oh, God.
You
Bill
and
Nighy. Who can I transition
I
to
feel
another
it in my
rom-com?
fingers. I feel it in
my
Yeah, but Yenny and I
toes.
know that song
So do I.
from
Christmas
Four Weddings
is
and a
all
Funeral.
around me.
Can I
So bad.
use Bill Nighy to transition to the next one, which is going to be probably controversial with you?
Oh, About Time.
Of course, about.
Okay, my wife
Hold on.
absolutely adores this movie.
Give me 30 seconds on this movie.
Okay,
Okay.
give
It
your
is-
pitch.
It is definitely a rom-com.
It's
it
not.
has hilarious parts. And which I think help the heart-wrenching parts of most of it. And he does fall in love with his wife, and it's the rom-com of him and his wife.
That's like
and,
the first
hold on.
30 minutes.
No, what are you talking about? They're married throughout.
It's
but
really not.
There's this underlying storyline of this relationship between him and his dad. But there is that huge, like that whirlwind romance, and he does anything he can to get the girl. And I'm not going to spoil the movie, even though it's old, but you need to experience it.
Yeah, it's been out for like 10 years. Look, here's a disclaimer real quick. There will be spoilers because we're going to discuss films.
Yeah.
So turn the podcast off and watch the movie if you haven't seen it.
He's joking. Don't turn the podcast off.
No, but I mean, watch a film if you don't want to, know what happens. About Time is a great movie. I really enjoy that movie. Have you seen it, Yenna?
I did, and I hate to disagree with you, but I also was not. It somehow gave me a bit too much sadness across the
Right.
film.
Because it ends
Well,
on
let
Me,
me-
yeah, but
Okay.
that's just me.
What does life end on?
Ladies,
a sad note.
may I chime in?
How is our marriage going to end?
But
You're
I
gonna die,
want,
let's face it.
I want a rom-com to lift me up out of that.
Absolutely.
That's the result I want.
All right.
So it's a different
Tony
thing.
the movie guy's going to take control. So About Time,
Boo, Tony.
it's a good pick. It is a good pick, babe. I agree. Here's the thing about that movie, genuinely. It surprised me because it's actually quite moving. I mean, obviously, the storyline is about a guy, all the men in his family can go back in time.
Right.
So it's kind of a time travel movie. And yes, there is absolutely a romantic element. And you think, especially from the trailers that came out, that was going to be the main kind of plot of the movie. Was
And then
this
you
big
get surprised
romance.
with this
Hold on, but let me
beautiful
finish. This plot with him, falling in love with and winning Rachel McAdams, who plays his wife. That's just a certain portion of the movie. The movie turns to this whole dramatic element, and it becomes, if anything, it's a love story with his father. And it's really... It really took me aback, and it's fantastic. I love that movie, and I know you love it. I don't think it's a rom-com, but it's okay. We've talked about it for 5 minutes anyway, so
Yeah.
that's good. So look, I'm gonna go through the list here.
It's the best movie ever. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah,
go watch it right now.
look, I do
So
recommend
good.
it. It's a great movie. It's got what's his name, Domhnall Gleeson.
Oh my God.
He's the main guy. Rachel McAdams,
The love of my
and Bill
life.
Nighy, who plays his father. It's a great movie, and again, it's one of those films that didn't get as much acclaim as it should have. It's
Should
a
we
great
talk
movie.
more about Domhnall Gleeson now?
Okay.
Not now. So here, I'm going to go through these, and look, we're probably not going to be able to take a deep dive on every single one of these films. But so the second one I have is Notting Hill, which I just rewatched.
Yes.
You have that, of course, right?
It's my second one.
Okay, so my aunt has a flat literally on Portobello Road, right by. I say this all the time to my wife. So, not only do I think it's a great film, but that film is very kind of personal to me because that travel guide bookstore that's featured in the film, the Portobello Market, it was right there. So I visited my aunt hundreds of times, growing up, and it was all right there.
Yeah.
So it's got that aspect to me, but also Notting Hill is just one of those, to me, that's a classic whimsical romance.
Yeah.
Hugh Grant, Julia Roberts, I mean, she could not be more charming and magnetic than ever, and he's so charming as well in that film. He's in his prime. And then of course you've got the character that kind of stole the show, who brings all the comedy, Spike, which is Reef Evans.
Yeah.
That was like his breakout role.
How do you know that name?
I know.
I
Told you.
I'm Tony the movie guy. No, but
I don't
so-
pay
it's
attention. I'm
brilliant.
married.
So
to you.
I just rewatched that film literally a couple of days ago. I watch it probably a couple of times a year. And look, I won't mention names, but I have male friends who that's like in their top 10 or one of their top movies of all time. So
Yeah.
to me, that's a perfect example of just a great romantic
It's a
comedy.
great
Would you
romantic
agree?
comedy.
I totally
Absolutely
agree. And also, I mean, my same thought on it kind of is dragged down reality. Like the reality of the relationship doesn't work out all the time,
Yeah.
and it goes back and
Yeah.
forth. Like
Yeah,
she's
that was
Hollywood,
that was a
he's-
rocky ride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And,
totally
well, she's a
rocky ride.
celebrity and he's just a normal guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super up and down.
Yeah.
And she has like her whole thing that she has to deal with, and
Yeah.
he's kind of just like, what the
Yeah.
hell do I do? And there's seasons that go by. They do a little montage of the
Yeah.
seasons that go by without
great.
them being in contact, because that's the reality of the situation. In the end, obviously, it works out. And
Right.
it's lovely and it makes your heart happy. But
Beautiful soundtrack as well. And of
Lovely.
course it brought the classic line, remember, I'm just a woman standing in front of a man, asking him to love her. I probably didn't say that word for word, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
it was pretty
brilliant,
close.
brilliant
you should
line.
have seen the pose he was doing, guys.
That was brilliant.
Jesus, I
Amazing.
should have taken a freaking
I was trying to be
photo of
Julia
that.
Roberts.
Which is funny because that brings. Are we done with Notting Hill?
Yeah, we're done. So I had
Okay.
4 weddings and a funeral next.
Okay. which I don't like.
Oh, well, okay, so tell me about that, because to me, that's one of my original rom-coms and also British kind of rom-coms that I has always had a dear place in my heart. And I know a lot of people don't love it. I mean, I think I tried to get my wife to watch it.
I've seen
yeah,
it.
you didn't really. It didn't
I really don't like
grab
Annie
your
McDowell.
attention. I
Doesn't
love
make
it.
my
I
heart
think
happy.
Annie
you
McDowell
told me
is,
that. You don't like
she
the
is-
lady.
I consider her a very fake actress. She doesn't resonate with me. She doesn't communicate
Groundhog
to me.
Day?
Yenny.
Hated Groundhog Day.
Yenny.
Oh my
Magic
goodness.
Mike 2?
Yeah, she's in Magic Mike 2.
Sorry, Magic
Oh my
Mike
god, I
XXL.
literally just admitted to the whole world that I watched Magic Mike 2. Okay, this is a total side note. I made a huge mistake of buying Magic Mike and Magic Mike 2
shows what great
for my
husband
wife.
you are.
So she has literally had about 4 or 5 ladies' nights over at our apartment with me sitting in the middle while they all drink wine and watch the Magic
You're not
Mike
tied
movies.
down
It's
by
okay.
chains to watch
Well, you know
the
what?
film.
Tommy, it's
I'm
okay.
gonna
I'll edit
admit.
it out. You can retain your
No, you have to
masculinity.
edit it out. This is a open platform. I'm going to admit that the second one's actually quite enjoyable.
insane.
Joe Manganiello is hilarious in
Okay,
that film.
but saying that,
You can consider that's a rom-com between Joe Manganiello and Andy
Okay,
McDowell.
we're going to
I'm
go
just
off the
saying.
rails here. So first of all,
I just don't. It doesn't communicate to me. I didn't find it funny. You're not the only person. You
Right.
love it. Serena really likes that film. There's a lot of people that tell me
It's
they
a
really like that
classic
film.
British
I
rom-com.
didn't like it.
It's okay.
Okay,
It's
good.
okay.
So I tell you what, I'm not going to go into a deep dive on it. I will say this: that's the film that brought the world Hugh Grant.
Mm-hmm.
That was his big hit, and also that was the film itself was a huge hit for British comedy and
Yeah.
romantic comedy, and
Yeah.
it made it to the States and it was a big hit. And I think it's a lovely movie, and also. Speaking, and again, this is spoilers. Speaking of a movie that's rooted in reality, they don't get married in the end. They don't want to get married, so that it does have that reality.
That's true.
That movie was so unmemorable for me, though. I don't even remember that part.
I know, it's okay.
I remember
So,
kind of the 4 weddings.
I totally understand.
And then I kind of lost interest.
so I love that film, and also it brought the world Kristen Scott Thomas. That's one of her first films.
Who's that?
But what did you have next?
Just because to follow on from British style movies, I love the movie Wimbledon. That's actually,
okay.
to me, a very...
See, that's a sports film to me.
Never seen it.
But that's like you've got, again, American, English person that fall in love from... They're both in the same world, but it's just charming. The comedy is charming. Their chemistry is excellent. To me, it's one I really, really enjoyed.
So let me tell you, I actually really enjoy that film. It's Paul Bettany and
Paul Bettany, that's
Kirsten
right.
Dunst.
I adored him.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's actually a really adorable film, but I'm going to point out 2 things on why I really
Go
don't,
ahead.
excuse me, on why I really don't think that's a romantic comedy.
What?
Well, hold on.
Whoa,
Well,
that
no.
was so loud.
Well, let me tell you. Number one,
Not a
it's
romantic
called Wimbledon.
comedy.
The entire movie, it's a sports movie from
It's about
beginning to
tennis
end.
players.
Hold on, I'm going to give you the nail in the coffin that really should make sense. And if you don't agree, it's okay.
Tell me.
They don't end up together.
Yes, they do.
Oh, well, then I don't remember the ending.
Yes,
but,
they do.
Well,
They end up together with kids.
Okay, well, here's what I remember. If I'm wrong, then maybe you're right about that. But here's what I remember. I remember them kind of breaking up, and she loses, and then the film basically becomes him winning and being this underdog who wins, and that's
Correct.
what I remember. And I got really invested into that. So maybe they do get together, but that was an afterthought to me when I watched
No,
it.
he wins because it's all about him getting his win back and winning, and then she backs him up on it, and it then shows her winning the next 3 years, and then it shows them together with kids. And
Yanni,
blah,
I'm
blah,
giving
blah.
it to you. It's a
So-
rom-com, and it's actually a really cute film.
You give
so.
her Wimbledon, you won't give me About Time?
About Time, I mean, sure. I'll give it to you because I'm outnumbered. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a classic. To me, like Love Actually, Notting Hill, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, those are classic rom-coms.
I agree.
Okay, I have one that
Next.
we're all going to agree on. 10 Things I Hate About You.
I love it.
That's all on
Okay.
her
Yeah.
list.
So,
It's literally
well, here's the
everything
thing
on her
about that movie. Again, that's not traditionally the type of movie I would love. Now, remember, when I watched that, I was a lot younger, so it was kind of more along my wavelength. I was probably in my late teens or something like that, because it came out in the late 90s. Maybe I was like 19, 20, something like that. But it was still like a high school movie. But that film is just so darn charming. The cast is great. Julia Stiles. And then, of course, Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
Who-
say 2 words, Heath Ledger,
I
end
know.
of story.
Well,
Yeah,
every
totally.
woman loves it because of Heath Ledger. And I'm going to tell you
Joseph
something.
Gordon-Levitt.
Well, I'll tell you something. I bet you every man secretly loves it because of Heath Ledger. Because when I watched that film, he just jumped out on the screen. He really did.
was
Especially that
amazing.
whole scene where he does the whole dance.
Sings,
The karaoke thing.
I
love you, baby. Anyway, I can't
So
sing. You
good.
should be singing, babe.
I was, and then you
Sorry,
started.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
stop
10 Things I Hate
properly.
About You is it's almost a classic film.
brilliant.
Literally, it's got an amazing soundtrack. It's Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger, and you're right, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it. He's like adorable.
What year was that? 1999. I remember watching
99.
that when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
just
Wow.
like
Yeah.
I watched it in the movie theater
Learning-
3 times, and I've seen it like 100 times on
okay,
TV.
I think we can all agree, A, it's an
Brilliant.
amazing rom-com, and B, I think almost everyone loves that movie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the poster now.
It's a
Heath
great
Ledger
film.
is just such a freaking
Okay,
great
Princess
film.
Bride.
Oh,
Okay, it's
yeah,
a
of course.
fantasy, but that is a rom-com through and through.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's, it's all about love and, them
Yeah.
finding each other. It's amazing. And what's his line in that? Oh,
As
as
you
you wish. As you wish. Yeah, so, okay, I love that. I didn't even think we need to say a lot about that.
brilliant.
It's an absolute classic.
Yeah.
Anyone with kids, you should make your children watch that when they're old enough to understand a film like that. I remember my dad playing that for me probably when I was like 9 or
Yeah.
10 or something, and I loved it immediately.
Yeah.
It was just
I rewatched it over and over.
exactly.
And
That's a
over
film
again.
I've probably seen 100 times. It's really funny.
It's
It's
very
hilarious,
funny.
inconceivable. And,
Amazing.
Oh my god, that was really good.
That was
no,
really
that
good.
was quite
Yeah,
bad.
that was actually pretty good. All you did was like a lisp.
Okay.
You got the tone right.
Okay, Say Anything. Have you seen that?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, that was the boombox one.
Here's what. Oh my god, the boombox one. So
That's how I remember.
here's
It's
what
John
annoys me
Cusack
about
with the-
Say
I
Anything.
have not seen it.
Okay, so here's
Have
what
I seen it?
I assumed that you might say that, and I actually think you probably haven't. It's funny, you know of it as the boombox one. So Say Anything
I might have seen it.
used to be regarded as like one of the best romantic comedies of all time, and it seems to have kind of floated away into the atmosphere in the last 10, 20 years.
Because
Like,
it got categorized as an 80s movie.
well,
not
I
a
guess,
romantic
yeah, but
comedy.
there's plenty of 80s movies we could probably mention. But here's the thing. It's John Cusack.
Yeah.
He plays this character called Lloyd Dobler. He's got this great line in the movie. I gave her my heart, and all she gave me was a pen, or something. She gave me a pen. But it's directed by Cameron Crowe.
Okay.
It's one, before Jerry Maguire. It's one of his first
okay.
movies.
I was
and
like, what does
it-
that name mean?
but it's just such and the girl vanished. She was in a lot of movies in the 80s. Iona Skye, I think, was her name.
Okay.
She's the main girl. I know, I'm good with names and stuff. That's why we're doing this podcast, babe.
What's our anniversary?
Our anniversary?
Yes.
Oh, darn. 7 November 2015. Did I get it
What's my
right?
birthday?
Don't do that. 17 October 1992.
Okay.
Ooh, I got it right. Don't put me on the spot like
What's
that
your
again.
birthday?
Okay, stop. All right, we're doing a podcast to entertain our listeners with movies and things like that. So here's all I'll do. I'll plug Say Anything, and you two really should watch that. It's such a whimsical film. He is absolutely charming in it, and also it's not your traditional rom-com. There's a whole side plot with her father who's like embezzling funds, and he gets arrested, and there's some drama in it. And his character, John Cusack's especially, is incredible because he's so optimistic about everything in life, and he just falls in love with this girl immediately. And yeah, of course, it's known for the Peter Gabriel song, "In Your Eyes," and him holding
that's a song.
the boombox,
I just
to
remember
win
the
her
image.
back. But it's a great film, so I highly recommend Say Anything. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I have Jerry Maguire on my list. And as I was going to say, like, do you guys think
He's on
that's a
my list,
rom-com?
too. Yeah,
oh,
no,
it
it's on my
is?
list.
Okay, what about you, Yanni?
I disagree. To me, Jerry Maguire is an incredible film, and I absolutely adore the film. And I think it's very romantic,
Right.
but it's more of a drama romance than anything else. I mean, you remember a couple of funny aspects, but largely it's not a comedy.
Okay, fine. So, but
Same
here's
as About Time. So
okay,
you
but
agree
here's
with
the
About
funny
Time
thing:
now. This is how
the
this works.
end of Jerry Maguire literally has one of the most quotable scenes,
Sure,
romantic scenes of
sure.
all time.
Romantic.
You
Makes
know,
your heart
you
happy.
complete me. Shut up. You had me at hello.
Yes.
So to me, just for that alone and that whole thing, and that he does eventually totally realize that she is the love of his life, and to me that definitely makes it a romance.
You know
It
what?
is a comedy, but here's what
Yeah.
I will say.
You're right.
This is a film that's been debated by a lot of people about that exact fact, that it's several genres. It's like a sports movie, it's a romantic comedy, and it's like a drama.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of on the edge of romantic comedy,
Right.
I would think.
Yeah.
Because the comedy doesn't necessarily come from the relationship or the main two characters. It comes from like Cuba.
Right.
Like, kind of
Or the kid.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's all sports.
outside of the relationship.
Yeah, he falls in love with the kid first before he falls in love with Dorothy.
Yeah.
God, I know her name. Isn't that funny? Dorothy Boyd.
You know, now that
Funny, sad
I
thing.
think about the movie more and more, I'm turning on it, and I'm going to say you're right.
So I would say anyone who hasn't seen Jerry Maguire, please watch that movie, because to me it's such a beautiful film, and it does have a lot of elements, but it is very romantic, and it's got a lot of humor in it as well. And that's also peak Cruise. That's one of his best performances, and it was Renee Zellweger's big breakout.
Yeah.
We can talk more about Tom Cruise now. We just talk about hot men. Could this be the hot men episode?
Well, we could do an episode
Actually,
for that.
though, I'd like to just add in on Renee Zellweger. I am a huge fan, and I believe you're someone who is not,
Oh,
of
God.
the Bridget Jones Diaries series.
Oh, okay.
Which
so,
I find very, very charming rom-coms, especially
have-
the last one, which I thought was hilariously funny.
Yeah, I was going to say 1, meh, 2, meh, 3.
I
Well, hold
Bridget
on. You
Jones'
love the
Baby.
first one,
Oh,
or you love them all.
First and third. Second, not so
So
much.
do you have Bridget Jones's Dairy?
I do.
Dairy.
I do. That's,
Diary.
I just brought it up because we
Bridget
brought
Jones
up
is a cow. It's her
Renee.
dairy.
Okay, so you have Bridget Jones's Diary
And Baby.
I
Bridget
think.
Jones's Baby.
Okay, well we'll choose one for the sake of
Let's
this
say
episode.
Baby. That was my
Baby's the
Well, hold on.
funniest.
I'm gonna. Ladies,
You're
may I?
outnumbered.
Okay, so I'm going to say the first one just
Okay.
because that's the most
Let's do
classic
it.
one. But let me tell you something. I actually agree with you.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed the third one because I watched it with you.
We watched
Yeah.
it in the theater.
Yeah, in
When
the
did we ever go
theater,
to a
and
rom-com in the
like
theater?
that's not the type of movie I would go see, and I thought it was
so
hilarious and it was so sweet, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will tell you, I saw it a few months later when it came out on iTunes, and
Just as good.
no, see, to me it was okay.
no, it was
So there was something about watching it in the theater. It was really funny and it was really sweet. Yeah, look, I think the first one's okay. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I think it's okay. You know, I don't love it. I think, again, Hugh Grant is great in it. Colin Firth is good in it. And, I mean, she got an Oscar nomination for that movie. Renee Zellweger did, which I find kind
She
of
did, I
interesting.
didn't know that.
Yeah, she did. And you know, it was a huge hit, and I know it's very popular. Of course, it would count as a rom-com. It wasn't on my list because I'm
love
not
it.
particularly a fan.
I think it's like a quintessential rom-com,
Yeah.
but the quality is wavering on the first one. The third one, it's like pitch perfect.
yeah, the second one I couldn't stand at all.
I
Not
still
like
love
the movie Pitch Perfect, but
Yeah.
it was a perfect
I
film.
couldn't stand it all. What I do remember about the first film, which I love, is Colin Firth and Hugh Grant kicking the shit out of each other.
so good.
That I remember.
Yeah. And
Anyway, okay,
falling
so
into a restaurant window with everyone fine dining. It was
Yeah.
brilliant.
okay, good. So
Anyway, we can continue.
Bridget Jones's Diary definitely is a rom-com for sure. So okay, good. There's Something About Mary. So to me, okay, that's what is it? It's the Farrelly brothers.
Definitely a rom-com.
That's
I
definitely
agree.
a crude comedy.
Yeah.
It's a little too slapstick for my taste.
Yeah, and I understand that, but from start to finish, that is a love story.
No, it's a funny movie.
That is a
and
love
it is,
story.
It's
Yeah,
totally
for
a
sure.
rom-com for my personal taste.
Yeah.
A little too slapstick.
Yeah, okay. So that's of my time. When I saw that movie in the theater, I was literally, you know, bent over pissing my pants. Not
Yeah.
literally, but like, it was
Thanks
just
for the
so...
visual.
You just said literally, not
I know.
literally.
It was so funny. It was especially Matt Dillon with the dog and, you know, trying to resuscitate it. And anyway,
Yeah. That
film
it is funny.
to me still stands the test of time. I watched it again a couple months ago. It's a
watched
movie
it.
I'll always go back to, and I think it's actually like a kind of a comedy classic, and it's definitely, the whole theme is a romance. So I have that one.
Okay.
And then 500 Days of Summer. Okay, do you like that
Oh,
movie?
I
Come
hate
on.
that
So
film.
you hate that movie.
It's depressing. It's
and do you
boring.
like that movie?
I liked
Okay.
that movie when it first came out.
Now, here's a disclaimer. At the beginning of the film, it literally says, this is not a love story, or this is not your traditional love
Then
story.
how is it a
Ignore that.
rom-com?
Ignore that. When I first saw that movie was amazing.
I love it.
And then literally probably about 500 days of summer later that I've watched it, ridiculous. I'm done. It's fine. I get it.
But it's
Why
not
do you?
funny.
So hold on. Why
And-
do you hate it?
and
it's
you
not
hate
funny.
her by the end of it. It's like, God, you bitch.
It's
like,
depressing. It's not funny. It hasn't got that entire aspect we were talking about of making you feel good. She's just some stupid girl.
Good. Can I make my
I don't
defense?
feel like it really makes you feel good.
May I
throughout
approach the
because-
bench?
No, hold on. It doesn't make you feel good throughout because it goes like on that time jump thing. So
Yeah,
it has
that's
like
true.
that moment of them feeling good, followed precisely by that moment of her making him feel like shit, and then it's like,
Yeah.
there's no payoff. There's no payoff.
I understand completely. So look, I absolutely love that movie. I really do, because it's very unique and non-traditional, especially as a romantic type of love story movie. I actually think it is quite funny at times. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt is incredible in it. The soundtrack is amazing, and I understand what you're saying, because the majority of the movie basically is like a breakup. They don't get together. But here's the thing: it ends. The last scene ends with hope and on a high note of romance. So, but it's fine. Look, we won't spend more time on that
for
one.
him to go find someone who gives him the time of day.
No, but he does. He meets someone, and her name is Autumn, and then he smiles, and the movie ends. I thought it was amazing. But look, if you haven't seen 500 Days of Summer, check it out. The ladies are right. It's not your traditional rom-com at all. It's a very smart script. Great performances, and you're right, I don't think Zooey Deschanel is amazing in it at all. She is quite aggravating, but I actually think that's the point of the character.
Probably.
But it's a great movie.
But you know what? It could have been 500 Days of Autumn and made it actually had a romance in it, instead of this depressing, manipulative person just tearing this guy down day by day.
Totally got it. So look, I understand. So you guys aren't big fans. Here's what I'm going to do, because I have quite a few more. I'm going to go through them, and if you really feel like, oh, you have something to say, then we'll go into a deep dive, because right now we're going into a deep dive on almost every one we mentioned.
We also have lists, so let's go down yours first.
Absolutely.
Because I will have some on mine you will definitely not have on yours.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. So look,
I will not agree with. I can tell you right now.
Totally got it. Okay, good. So The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Okay, I think that is a fantastic movie. Judd Apatow, Steve Carell, that was his big breakout. And it kind of started the trend of the mature comedies, and it's definitely a romance.
That was funny.
It's the slapstick rom-com.
So that's a great movie. I had
Love it.
Knocked Up as well, which followed the same vein with Seth Rogen and the blonde girl who shall not be named.
It made my heart happy.
Okay, I have The Wedding Singer. You guys must have The Wedding Singer.
The Wedding Singer.
Okay, so The Wedding Singer, for everyone who hates on Adam Sandler, you need to go back and watch some of the films that made Adam Sandler who he is today. Because look, I agree he's kind of phoning it in. I'm a sucker for Adam Sandler, so I'll still watch his movies. And some of them are okay and some of them are just terrible. The Wedding Singer is so charming, and Drew Barrymore is so charming. The music, the comedy,
chemistry,
everything. Yeah,
it's so funny because it's a period film, and it was made after the fact, like after the 80s. It takes place in the 80s. So no matter when you watch it, it holds up so well.
And it's got Billy Idol in it, who cameos at the end.
It's not like a 90s movie made in the 90s you watch today and you're like, oh my god, the 90s. Yeah. How funny were they? Yeah. It was like an 80s movie that holds.
And they nail the 80s so well. And you're right, and the film came out in like the late 90s. But I mean, I think everyone's seen The Wedding Singer. And look, even people who are like hardcore Adam Sandler haters, go back and watch that film. I dare you. There's no way you won't be amused and you won't feel slightly better about life and living this at the end, because it's such a happy feel good movie. So I love that film.
I want to watch it now.
Yeah, we'll watch it. I was actually thinking of watching it
right now.
Well, not right now because we have to finish the podcast, but 50 First Dates. So that's another Adam Sandler movie.
Great
Drew
movie.
Barrymore is absolutely phenomenal in that film.
Wonderful.
I think like she brings emotion to that film.
The perfect
really
rom-com
good.
will make me make my heart happy and make me sob uncontrollably at separate times of the film. And that's what that movie
I agree with that.
Like, it
50,
makes me,
so
every time I watch it,
so
I've watched
good.
it probably at least 50 times.
Right.
And
50 times for 50 First Dates.
And how they managed to make from that story, when you really think it's going to end horribly in a way, you kind of expect this is just going to, how can this even end in any other way than horribly, that they managed to somehow give it some kind of a realism and love.
How much will you go through to make it work with the person that you love, and how much shit will you like kind of get dragged through the mud?
So we all agree on that, and no, really, that film actually surprised me because it's very funny with what's his name, Rob Schneider.
As the Hawaiian guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and then there are other funny scenes in it. Yeah. But I mean, Drew Barrymore actually brings drama to that film. I mean, she really does. Watch it. So for anyone who hasn't seen that movie, 50 First Dates that's a lovely film, very charming. And then let's see. Okay, My Best Friend's Wedding. I love
that film too.
Julia Roberts
Really
again
love it.
in her heyday, and then
that
Dermot Mulroney,
Dermot.
he plays her
Dermot?
best
Isn't it
friend,
Dermot?
something like that. And then of course, who had the big breakout from that film? Rupert Everett,
Yeah.
who's her gay
Who's
best friend.
unbelievably
He is
funny.
Oh, yeah.
phenomenal
So
in
funny.
that film. He steals every scene he's in.
He starts
Oh.
singing
Oh
to
my
her.
God.
Oh, at the table, the dinner. That's one of the best
Oh no,
scenes.
it's wrong. That was the wrong rom-com. He goes, from the moment I wake up before I put on my makeup.
Okay, we cannot
Anyway,
sing.
it's yeah, no,
You
in
should
the
be
headphones,
singing, babe.
that
My
sounds
wife
hilarious.
actually can sing.
No. This is for
so
comedy.
good.
Okay,
Great
that
rom-com.
film is so charming. It's beautiful, and again,
Doesn't
you
end
brought up
perfect.
a really funny thing at the beginning about
What?
when a really good rom-com has like reality in it, because at the end of this movie, she's alone.
Yep.
She's alone.
But you're not unhappy
Right.
somehow. You're still okay with it
Right.
at the end of that one.
And do you know something that I found out? Who's the guy that plays Negan?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Apparently, they cut a scene from the original run that they did with a screen audience for My Best Friend's Wedding, where she meets him. This guy,
Oh my
played by
gosh.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think. I'll have to fact check. It might be someone else. But she meets someone at that wedding, and audiences hated it because they thought, since
Really?
the whole movie was about her trying to break up her best friend and Cameron Diaz, who, by the way, is also really charming
good
in
in
this,
that, yeah.
they didn't think that she should have a happy ending, so they cut it. So at the end, she's on her own, and then her gay friend Rupert Everett, comes and dances with her, and the movie ends like that.
Well, yeah, who would want to watch a movie where Negan, ends up murdering her with a baseball
Although,
bat?
Well,
having
this is
said
like
that,
20 years ago.
Again, at that point, he would have been Denny from Grey's Anatomy, who everybody loved because it was a romantic character.
that
anyway,
long ago?
yeah.
Oh my.
Okay, good. So I have another Julia Roberts one, which is a total classic, which is Pretty Woman.
Of course.
So
I mean,
Pretty Woman
that's
is,
without question.
it's a great movie that brought the world in a big way. Julia Roberts, it's so charming. Richard Gere, I don't need to talk much more about that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Without question.
And I had my wife watch that just about a year ago. You liked it, right?
I love Pretty Woman.
Yeah. So,
But I will guarantee you, everything else, like all the ones that you're saying as of now, are not on my list anymore, and everything on my list is now completely underdog, and you will contest me at
That's
every
okay.
single title.
That's okay. Well, we're already running over time, aren't we? So
Well-
this is an experiment for our second episode.
I mean,
It's okay. I'm going to carry on.
what's time, man?
Exactly. Okay, I have Pretty in Pink. I think that
Oh, of
I
course.
as an 80s
Love
film,
Pretty in Pink.
I love that movie. I've gone blank. What's her name? Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald, yeah.
So Molly Ringwald is so charming, and then Andrew
Ducky.
McCarthy, and then of course Ducky. Yeah.
Oh, that
So
scene
good.
in the
Yeah.
record store.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pretty
So
in Pink.
good.
It's a classic.
And
That
you know
really
what?
is a classic.
You know what's great about that too is it kind of puts the reality in of the
Yeah.
unrequited love and of the fantasy in of this dreamboat, perfect Prince
Right.
Charming,
Yeah.
blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
James Spader, he's such a good douchebag in that movie.
So good.
He's such a good douchebag. And when she confronts him at the end, and she's like, no, he confronts him in the end. Andrew McCarthy
Yeah.
confronts
Yeah.
him. He says, she knows you're just a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
there's actually some scenes in that film that are very impactful.
Oh, totally.
And then that wonderful actor who just died, who plays her father in Pretty in Pink.
What's
his name? Can you-
Stanton, Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton.
Ooh, I knew
Oh.
something that Tony didn't.
You did. Well done. High five,
Thank
babe.
you,
We're high
Douglas
fiving
movie.
each other.
Very nice.
Okay. Anyway, he plays her father. And he's like stuck in depression because the wife left
Yeah.
him. And
Yeah.
anyway, Pretty in Pink
Right.
is a classic. It's a great movie, and it's very funny, and it's very romantic, and so that's that. And then when
And grounded in reality.
okay, it is When Harry Met Sally.
Great.
Meg Ryan,
Absolutely
Billy
great.
Crystal. It's got the
That was her
famous.
day.
It's got the famous
orgasm
orgasm
scene.
scene, and I'll have what she's having. Which that was the director's mother who ad-libbed that scene.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a classic movie about basically can the premise of that film is can two best friends, when they're a man and a woman, can they just stay friends, or do they fall in love? But it's a great movie. So look, that's my list of like the rom-coms I love. So then I have
Wait, hold on. Let's go on to the ones we hate after.
I'm almost done. I promise you.
No, but
okay?
let's do all
I know,
the
but
ones
let
we
me let me just finish my trail of thought here.
Your
So,
name's in the title.
I have I listed out kind of bad ones. A couple of these are films that I actually kind of secretly enjoy.
Okay.
Like Failure to Launch. I don't know why.
I love
It's
it.
Matthew McConaughey. I love that
it
movie.
so much.
And I can't believe I'm
It's so
saying that
cute.
here.
It was
It's-
okay.
right. So
But
a
it's
lot
like
of people
those
don't
trashy
like it.
comedies that you watch, like, and you know it's a
It's Sarah
horrible
Jessica
movie, but you watch
Parker,
it anyway.
Matthew McConaughey. It's a really cute film, and it's also got like Justin Bartha and Bradley Cooper's in it before he had his big break, and Zoe Deschanel, and
It was
it's-
all
Oh yeah, she's the
right.
roommate you tried to shoot.
Kathy Bates is his mother. I've seen it like 5 or 6 times, and each time I watch, I'm like, why do I like this so much? It's charming, it's
Okay,
cute, and it's
okay.
funny. So I have that, and I'm glad you like it too, babe. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, I can't stand. A lot of people like that movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, so that's Kate
Love
Hudson,
that movie.
Matthew McConaughey.
They're so charming together.
Right. I can't,
So charming.
I can't stand it. I actually tried to watch it a year ago because I remember it was a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to watch it, and I got halfway through. I was like, this is lame.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, here's what's funny. The 3 I have right now is that whole Matthew McConaughey. He started with A Time to
Yeah.
Kill and Contact, and as
And
a
then
serious
went
actor.
rom-com.
Then he went into this whole rom-com phase,
Yeah.
and most of them were really
When
quite
you're
bad.
that beautiful, you have
It's
to
true.
kind of do that.
Okay, well, he's been doing pretty damn well for himself in the last few years.
Hold on,
but,
let's Magic Mike.
so I have, well, hold on. So I have, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And then I have Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, which I couldn't
Never,
stand
I
at
didn't
all.
get through it.
Boo.
It was-
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
it's
Jennifer
awful.
Garner and
Yeah,
Matthew
not
McConaughey.
good.
I have, here's another one. Good Luck, Chuck, which is
Oh, that
a
wasn't
terrible
so
movie.
bad.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I like it.
It was alright.
I actually
Yeah.
like it. Who's the guy, the comedian? What's his name?
I almost cursed.
You can curse.
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook.
Yeah, and,
it's
Jessica Alba.
It's
Okay,
really kinda
so-
cute.
So two really untalented actors come together to make a really shitty movie.
Okay, here's the thing
She's-
about that. Good Luck, Chuck. It's one of those films. It's so dumb and stupid. I've watched it a couple of times and I enjoy it.
I've seen it a couple times because it's one of those things. Again, they play on TBS all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Runaway Bride. I know you like that.
Oh,
I
Runaway
can't
Bride?
stand that movie.
I don't like it,
I think
I
it's
know.
terrible.
Sorry, I don't.
It's so boring.
I didn't
What do
get
you mean
into
it's
it.
so
And it was
boring?
supposed to be this
feel
big,
like they-
reuniting
yeah,
Richard
they
Gere and
didn't
Julia
have that
Roberts.
chemistry at all.
Okay, Julia Roberts, beautiful. Richard Gere,
Of course.
a dream.
And still in that movie, they make it boring and crap.
Like this episode, this whole rom-com episode is like really like, who will Tony and Danny break a marriage for, and all the dreamboats that you're naming.
I think we're okay. But here's the thing. So, okay, Runaway Bride, I think's bad. She's All That is a movie with
that?
Freddie Prinze Jr. in the 90s that
Yeah.
I really liked back then. And I remember watching a couple of years ago.
It
and I was
doesn't
like,
hold up
"Ugh."
at all.
So these are like your guilty pleasures.
Yeah, and it had that girl, Rachel Lee Cook, who
Rachel
just
Lee
kind
Cook,
of
yeah.
vanished.
She-
Exactly.
she was
That movie's way before my time though.
Yeah, but it came out in the late 90s.
She was in the
Yeah, so I was like
the Babysitter's Club TV series, and then she did that movie, and she did some small pieces in Psych, the TV show, and then
Okay.
she just disappeared.
Yeah, so anyway,
Nothing
it's
I've
it's quite lame. Another one, Never Been Kissed. When I saw it, I quite liked it with Drew Barrymore.
What?
I can't stand it now.
Oh.
It's so cheesy.
No, it's not
you know.
my favorite either.
Okay, another one, Valentine's Day.
Stupid.
Okay, good.
horrible.
I agree. That and New Year's Eve. Oh, they're
Oh,
terrible.
no. I'm going to totally challenge you on that. Hated Valentine's Day, adored New Year's Eve.
Oh, well, I
totally
could not
different
stand them.
storylines, really enjoyed the storylines in New Year's Eve, hated Valentine's Day.
Well, I hated them both, and they both critically and commercially. Actually, I
They
think
both didn't do
commercially
well.
did
New
well,
Year's
okay.
Eve bombed, but I actually think Valentine's Day, even though it was
no, it did really well.
even though it was critically panned, it actually was successful,
because
which
it was the
unfortunately is
same-
why they did New Year's Eve and then Mother's Day.
It was in the same vein of he's just not that into you. Like, let's put all these storylines.
Okay, then there's another Adam Sandler one with Jennifer Aniston, Just Go With It, which I didn't
Meh.
like. That's
It's
like
okay.
meh. And then there's another one which, again, when it came out with Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz, I really enjoyed it. What Happens in Vegas.
No, I didn't like it
I watched
either.
it again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
You just
lame.
said Ashton Kutcher and I got excited.
And then one that I hated. I watched this with my mum called The Ugly Truth with Gerard
I
Butler.
don't mind
She
that
loved.
film.
Well, this is when he was big and she loved him.
Oh, I don't
She's
mind
like,
it.
ooh, Gerard Butler.
It was okay.
He's
It
so
was totally
handsome.
okay. There's nothing amazing about that film, but it was one that I was like, oh, that was funny. It was all right.
All right, that's my list, ladies. So what did I miss?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh yeah, you love that movie.
I love that movie dearly. It has such
I
a place
don't.
in my heart. My sister and I have seen it, probably 10, 15 times together. I think it's charming, it's sweet, it's got that country feel. It's just adorable all around.
You know, and it's funny because that's like that was a big hit for Reese Witherspoon, and I know a lot of people love this movie. And I actually remember that you would bring it up, and I know it was a big hit. I tried to watch it a couple months ago. I got through
Please
like 30 minutes of it.
try again.
I've tried 2 or 3 times.
Danny,
I put it on 'cause I
make
really
this happen.
No, I put it on because I wanted to watch it, and then he was sitting down with me, and he was like, "I can't," and we both just turned it off.
She didn't even like it. Danny didn't even
No,
like it.
I wanted to watch it, but you're like, "Do you really want
But
to watch
you
this?"
weren't really into it.
No,
Yeah.
we put on something we both want to watch. It was The Weekend.
And I like Reese Witherspoon, but I'm sorry. I know you love that movie. I didn't like it at all. What other one?
Got a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ending.
No,
Anyway,
I didn't even get to that, so I wouldn't know.
I want to be able to kiss you whenever I want. It's so cute.
They do it in that accent.
Exactly.
It's
that
Heart of
accent.
Dixie the movie.
It is.
Oh god, see that shows. Oh, anyway,
All
Danny
right, so
loves
then
that
my
show.
last
Ugh.
one, before I turn over to Danny, because she actually has a good list, is Clueless.
Okay, I love Clueless. I didn't think it was a rom-com. That's like a coming-of-age high school movie
I mean,
classic.
it's all about romance and her finding romance.
Well, it's
so
not really
I'll
all
challenge
about
you on that
romance.
because it is a rom-com
Hold
to
on,
me.
Paul Rudd is like a side character, and then there's this revelation that, oh my god, I love him.
Yes, but throughout the whole thing, she's trying to find the right guy. It's all about their relationships, and it's
As
hilariously
if.
funny. Anyway, yeah,
Look,
that's
I
the
love
end of my list.
Clueless. It's Alicia Silverstone. I think, unfortunately, it's like the only great movie she did. But
Yeah.
that film is like, it's a classic. It's a
It
great
is.
movie. I didn't really think it was a rom-com, but it's a good pick.
Fair enough. Danny, over to you.
Wifey, what do you got?
So the last one's on my list. One, we didn't mention Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, see, okay, so Danny loves Crazy Stupid Love.
It is one of my obsessions.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing about that movie. That film came out. It was critically acclaimed. It was a big hit. A lot of people loved it. I watched it. I thought it was okay. I watched it again a few years later, and I liked it more, and that really rode mainly on Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling's chemistry. They are electric in that movie, and then I watched it probably twice again with you.
Yeah, and we watched it the other night.
Yeah, and we watched it again like last week. So I think it's a good movie, and Steve Carell's great in it. Danny has a weird obsession for Steve Carell.
I don't know why. He's so sexy.
Julianne Moore. It's a good movie for sure. And you're right, that would be a rom-com.
Definitely. I mean, that would be a rom-com. It is the rom-com.
Yeah, it's good.
End-all rom-com.
You know, here's a funny fact about that. I remember reading is because again, what I love was the chemistry of Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and especially there's this like scene where they're just kind of like chatting in bed.
Yeah.
And I just thought that the chemistry was so natural, and the reason why is because it actually is. Apparently, the director just let it roll and they were just shooting the shit, just talking, and that's why it has such a natural kind of feel. Anyway, yeah, they were brilliant.
That and they're meant to be together.
Well,
of course.
In actuality.
Isn't he married to
Oh,
Eva
no,
Mendes?
who cares about
Has a
Eva
baby.
Mendes? They're
She's
meant
gorgeous.
to be together.
I'm sorry, babe. Like, they're soulmates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. This is a current thing. They'll come back. They'll
All
find
right.
each other.
What else you got?
Okay, so like on the funnier side, I have Trainwreck and Coming to America.
Oh, I don't know why I didn't think of Trainwreck, because that kind of is a romance with Bill Hader,
It
Amy
is. It's just
Schumer.
like it's a quirky rom-com.
Yeah,
Because they're quirky main characters that
Yeah.
you would typically think in like Hollywood standards to be
That's a good one.
the funny best friend.
Yeah,
and they're both the main characters.
No, that would count, because I kind of just thought of that as a comedy, but and actually, like, she's raised to like not trust men, and she just sleeps around, and then she finds this guy who actually really likes her, and it's got that hilarious scene where she sleeps with him and he calls her the next day and she's like, what do I do? He's calling me. Did you misdial? It's like, is he a serial killer? It was actually really entertaining, so that counts. And then
lovely. I love that
I know
movie.
Coming to America, and I love Eddie Murphy,
The
and
whole
that's like
premise
one
is
of
about finding love.
no, that's one of his best comedies. I don't think that's a romantic
I agree with
movie.
Danny 100% on that one.
Okay,
He
but
gets the girl. He steals her
all
away
right.
from the
Rewatch
douche,
that
you
movie.
know?
She's only in a very small portion of the film, like kind of towards the end. That goes
Just
more
because
in that
she's in
plot.
a small portion doesn't mean that she's not the central theme of the film. Like,
I Love You
she
Dearly.
is the point of the film.
I'll give it to you, but I don't think Coming to America. Personally, I think it's one of the best comedies of all time. One of best Eddie Murphy movies, but I don't really think it's a rom-com. But I'll give it to you. Okay.
I'm just saying it's fringes. These are the fringe movies because I like the mainstream stuff, but this is like kind of off the edge.
What else you got?
I think Sing Street is a rom-com, like a coming-of-age rom-com.
No, great movie. Again, it's more like a coming of age, like high school kind of movie. That's from the director who did Once. I know you love that, and Begin Again.
Yeah, but those aren't rom-coms. rom-coms. Those are depressing.
Okay. Well, Once is kind of a well, no, it's
it's
not.
not.
Yeah, because it's not a comedy at all.
They like never see each other again.
Yeah, I didn't really put Sing Street in a rom-com classification, but okay.
Okay, well, how does like the perfect rom-com ends with a couple going away in the sunset? How
Well,
does Sing
actually,
Street
you
end?
don't know if they like drown in the boat. Like, there's a big storm. You don't know.
rain's
Spoiler for
coming
Sing
down.
Street. But look, it's okay. I'll give it to you. I didn't
They're
really
going
think
from
it's a
England
rom-com.
From Ireland to England. They're not going to die.
Hey,
They're
On a little,
you've
like,
never done
group
that
boat.
journey. That journey is horrendous
They're
from
fine.
England to
They
Ireland.
make
Notoriously
it,
horrendous.
They fall in love. They grow old together.
Okay, what else you got, babe?
Let's see. Oh, like the classic, the most classic rom-com to me, which is a movie I love and Tony does not love as much as I do, is Roman Holiday.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she made me watch that actually, and
Audrey Hepburn and
I fell
Gregory
asleep.
Peck.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Well, here's the
So
funny
beautiful.
thing. I don't even like Breakfast at Tiffany's. I'm not an Audrey Hepburn fan. I'm sorry, listeners, but I know that's a classic
Well,
rom-com.
it's a classic movie in itself,
Yeah,
but at the same time,
absolutely.
like they have the classic kind of slapstick, very like wild characters, but the princess and the
It's a beautiful
Well,
movie.
she won
the
an
Lady and
Oscar
the
for
Tramp
it.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
She won
Yeah.
an Oscar for that movie, and I know you love it. I know it's a classic. I'll give it to you.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I think that about wraps up.
Well,
my list.
funnily enough, you both didn't bring up the film, the rom-com that is the highest grossing rom-com of all time.
Seriously?
That is correct. See if you can guess.
And I'm Tony the movie guy.
You both did not bring it up, and I did not either.
God, I don't
You're
know.
Tony the movie guy, not Box Office Mojo.
Well, remember, we're talking about, well, number one, I don't Google, I don't cheat. This is my mind working, and I just list things down and I just talk.
Yeah.
But also, this is rom-coms. Go ahead, tell us.
Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh my God.
Highest
Why didn't I
grossing
think of
rom-com
that?
of
I don't
all
know, but I
time.
love
We love that movie.
Yeah.
Danny loves that movie. Here's what's funny about that film. I remember when that movie came out because that movie was made for like on a shoestring budget. It was an independent movie. The cast was practically unknown. The main star, she wrote it. It got an Oscar nomination for script,
wow.
and it was a huge hit. You're right, it made like what, $400 million
Yep,
or
it did
something.
really well.
Cost $50,000. I remember watching it, and I was like, okay, didn't think much of it. That's a film that has really stood the test of time.
Yeah.
Because a couple of years ago I revisited it, and it was actually really funny. And I've watched it with Danny at least twice, and
Yeah.
we love it.
Yeah.
That movie
We
is a
actually
great
actually
movie.
quite enjoyed the sequel, which is nowhere near as good. But
Well, the
so that's
sequel's
funny.
cheesy, but it's
I
nostalgic
watched the
of the
sequel
first one.
first, so I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
I
that's
watched
so
it
funny.
here on this couch about 2 months ago, and
Oh,
it
did
made
you watch it with
it
me?
made me
I don't
watch
remember.
it made me watch the first one, and I loved it.
Anyway, that
That's
absolutely counts. That's so funny that none of us even
I
thought
know,
of that.
and that is the highest grossing one of all
Wow.
time. And there we go.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh wow.
All right, so that's our list. That's rom-coms. That was that was quite intense. I'm totally outnumbered here. Both of the ladies are staring at me, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. Please email us any comments or any topics that you might want us to cover in future episodes. That's probably what we're going to do. We're still working this out, but probably each episode we'll kind of do a deep dive on a specific topic or theme and really discuss it. And every now and then we'll bring on like a guest and debate and go over it. So, thank you so much. Please subscribe. Please rate us on iTunes, leave a review, download, and share with your friends and family. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Bye.
Good night.
Night,
Say bye,
Sherman.
ladies. That's right. She got the film reference.
Of course I got the film ref. Okay.
Good
bye, people.
night.
Tony. Tony the movie guy. Listen up.
Hello, and thank you so much for listening to the second episode of Tony the Movie Guy, the podcast. Men love rom-coms too. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Tony the Movie Guy, and email us ideas or questions or comments to tonythemovieguypodcast at gmail.com. Also, I wanted to give a very quick shout out to some very generous donors who helped us this week kind of get on our feet. Paul, Carly, Jed, Christy, Michelle, Leah, John and Virginia, Kari, Sarah Beth. Thank you guys so much. And a very special thank you to James and Austin. We couldn't have done it without your guys' support, and we really, really appreciate it. And it enables us to bring you more podcasts and even sooner. So thank you again so much for your help. Also, a quick shout out again to Sam Deeger, who did our amazing logo. I mean, look how dope that thing looks. And also Damian Perkins Neptune for doing our amazing theme song. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.